Hi guys, today we will be covering one of the best episodes of the Brilliant Anthology Series, Black Mirror. The story includes a thrilling end that will surpass your expectations, so stay tight and let's begin. The episode begins with a retro look that involves a Star Trek-themed action scene. A spaceship has to survive an attack from the enemy and defeat it. The team captain takes some unconventional decisions while the combat scene. The other members question him but do what he says and they eventually manage to win. The win is followed by an exaggerated celebration of team leader's leadership qualities. Immediately after, we are brought back to reality where the team leader is revealed to be exactly opposite to his previous persona. Here, he completely lacks those charismatic qualities and is obviously not a competent leader. He enters into a gaming experience center where people are seen immersed in hyper-real virtual games. He is the CTO of this company, Infinity, and his real name is revealed to Robert Daly. Nanette Cole, a newbie to the company, introduces herself to Robert, showing her complete admiration of Robert's work. They start bonding with each other uncommon interests. But they're interrupted by Walton, co-founder of the company. He mistreats Robert and then goes on to give Nanette an office tour. Looking at all this, Robert is left out and feels bad for not getting the limelight he deserves. Walton doesn't treat him as an equal even though he was the one who created the software for Infinity. Robert gets back home and it's revealed what was going on in the first scene. Robert plays a mod version of the game in his computer that includes conscious clones of many of his colleagues. He takes out his frustration on the clone of Walton in the game. In the real world, Nanette is very admiring of Robert and regularly brings coffee for him, but it changes when a colleague tells her that Robert is kind of a stalker. Robert hears this and slowly realizes that Nanette is losing interest in him. After everyone's gone, Robert gets his hands on Nanette's coffee cup and brings it home. He extracts Nanette's DNA from the cup and uses it to create her virtual clone. Nanette's conscious clone wakes up in the virtual world of the game. She is shocked as she witnesses everything around her. She is in the USS Callister. Others explain how they were created and trapped inside the game by Robert using their DNA samples from various things. Nanette is terrified and tries to escape the ship, but others claim that it is not possible to do so. She doesn't pay heed to them and tries nonetheless until Robert's appearance. She tries revolting in front of him but is muted. As a colleague describes, Robert is basically the god of this virtual world and is invincible. Nanette pleads him so Robert redoes her mutation and they get into the next game. Nanette finds it absurd, looking at how others are genuinely reacting to Robert's game even after knowing it's all fake. The absurdity is pointed out when Robert pauses the game to receive a pizza. Amidst that, Nanette is told the monster in the scene is also a conscious clone converted into a monster due to its rebellion. The game resumes and ends with Robert's win. The villain guy asks Robert to kill him and free him from existence, but Robert acts cruelly. After that, they celebrate in their own weird way, but Nanette refuses to kiss Robert and slaps him. Robert only warns her and exits the game. The colleagues explain Nanette how they are bereft of basic sensory pleasures such as taste, reproductive organs, and excretion. Nanette is very agitated by all this and tries to think of an escape plan. She recalls the device Robert used to contact the real world, the omnicorder, and tries to hack it. She successfully does so. Using it, she sends a message to herself in the real world asking for help. On receiving the message, Nanette asks Robert about it. Robert is angered by this and returns to the game to further torture his colleagues' clones. When Shania tries to protect Nanette, he converts her into the monster. Nanette regrets this deeply. Later, Nanette sees a wormhole being created in front of her and realizes that it's a Christmas update patch, a chance to escape. She plans to fly the spaceship into the wormhole, but Kabir informs her that the ship only works when the omnicorder is present in the game, which comes in the game only with Robert. Nanette proposes a plan to get their hands on omnicorder, which involves blackmailing the real-world Nanette into ordering a pizza from Robert's address while he is in the game. This way, they can get hold of the omnicorder and escape while Robert will be receiving the pizza. Everyone agrees to do it except Walton, who has been in the game for 6 years. The reason behind it is revealed to be the traumatic experiences given to him by Robert when he tried to escape. Once, Robert created a virtual clone of his child only to kill him by sending him out through the airlock. The DNA of his child is present in a lollipop that Robert has stored in his fridge. Thus, he can torture Walton repeatedly. Nanette assures Walton that they will remove that lollipop from Robert through real-world Nanette. Walton softens and agrees to go on. When Robert returns to the game, Nanette requests him for a dual mission where only they both are present. At the mission, Nanette seduces Robert into taking off his clothes and leaving the omnicorder. Colleagues teleport the omnicorder to the ship and manage to blackmail the real-world Nanette using some of her private pictures. Meanwhile, Nanette diverts Robert's attention. They send the omnicorder back when its work's done. The device receives a message alerting Robert that a pizza delivery has arrived, implying that the real-world Nanette has begun her work. Real-world Nanette manages to sneak into Robert's house. She waits for Robert to head for the pizza delivery. Robert picks the omnicorder confused and pauses the game. He wakes and heads towards the door gate, giving real-world Nanette a chance to follow up on getting all the DNA samples from the fridge. Nanette teleports back to the ship and commands the crew to head into the wormhole. Real-world Nanette leaves the house with collected samples, and Robert returns to his seat after disrespecting the pizza delivery guy. The crew figures out that they'll have to pass through an asteroid belt to reach the wormhole in time as it is shrinking. Robert tries but is unable to get back into the game. He then changes the device and tries again and gets into the game. He finds himself standing alone beside the lake, without Nanette. The spaceship nears the asteroid belt. Robert finds another ship on the land and locates USS Callister. He finds out what's going on and begins chasing the crew. Crew's spaceship has now entered the asteroid belt. Packer is managing to steer clear of collisions. During the chase, Robert keeps threatening the crew through transmission. Eventually he too gets into the asteroid belt. They shut down the transmitter to shut him up. Just when the asteroid belt is about to end, an asteroid hits USS Callister, stopping it. Robert is delighted. Kabir says, the only way to run the ship now is to turn it on manually, which will cause one person's death. To their surprise, Walton has already headed towards the reactor. He gets into the jet and talks with Robert. He says he would have apologized Robert for mistreating him, but now due to what he did with Walton's kid, Walton asks him to fuck off. The engine is reignited and the Callister starts heading towards the wormhole again. Robert is following. The crew concentrate their effort on getting into the wormhole, and bingo! Packer manages to get them through the wormhole. After a bit of distortion, they find themselves in a cleaner online version of the game where they can now go on unlimited adventures with all the crew united. Robert's game mod starts deleting itself and he is trapped inside the game for an undefined time. Short analysis: the episode involves recreation of consciousness inside a video game. Thus, it acts as a thought experiment that the makers have very effectively used to portray dark side of a personality. Episode starts from the point of view of the antagonist and explores the reasons behind the guy's villainy. That's it for this recap. Make sure to come back for a thrilling story recap in which a man has to repeatedly kill a politician in a time loop. Subscribe to Instant Films for such great recaps.